when it comes to dangers to your guest experience and things that can impact it is typically things that are outside of our control. Now, however, there are some things that you just don't experience until you're there or until it happens. And it's often the smallest things that could derail an experience. For example, we had on our retreat last week, a scenario where we're going to do a session and then lunch down by the lake. And this was because the pool at the property had issues with their waterproofing. So we went down to the lake, we found a great spot, took the guests down there, and because of the really significant rains, the dam had opened to its maximum, which meant that the lake had dragged all the logs and the sludge into this one spot, meaning that it just looked horrible. And if I was a guest, I wouldn't want to get in the water. So plan 1 didn't work. Plan 2, lake seemed to be a bust. And that's one of those things that at that moment you wouldn't know until you were there. So we then ended up having to drive up and down the lake to find a spot that was flat enough to have lunch, but also looked nice in case the guests wanted to get into the water. We found a space. It was an abandoned mini golf course that had definitely been a home for many homeless people at one point, which took getting some gardening gloves, hiding everything that could possibly make it look a little bit like a crack den, whatever you would call it, and made it look appealing. And they loved it. People got in the lake, the water was clear and nice, it had shade, it had flat spots, and I think the one thing that I can akin to this is plan A doesn't work, you have plan B, plan C, all the way up to plan Z, to find a solution that you think of on the spot. It doesn't mean that the entire experience stops and the guests have a terrible time. It just means we adapt, we evolve, and we change, and we find what works in that moment. Just because something doesn't go right, and a lot of things will always go wrong, the smallest things can make the biggest difference to your guest experience. What allows you to maintain that level of service or to not let it detract is, one, how you respond to it as an individual or the person managing the experience itself, making sure that you're transparent with the guests and finding an alternative solution, and just not taking no for an answer sometimes really does help. And then alternatively is understanding that you're in an environment where weather makes a huge difference, and that's something that we just have to adapt and change. But what we can do afterwards is go, okay, well, if these things happen, we will just create this is how we handle things. This is the solution. We're always people that go in and jump to solutions and find different options in the moment to be able to change something.